Valeria's hands trembled as she stared into Dante Moretti's cold, calculating eyes across her father's worn kitchen table. The notorious Mafia boss tapped his silver ring against his whiskey glass, the sound echoing like a ticking bomb in the suffocating silence. "Your father owes me more than he could ever repay," Dante said, his voice smooth as velvet yet sharp as a blade. Outside, rain lashed against windows while his men waited in black SUVs, their headlights cutting through the darkness. When Dante's gaze traveled slowly down her body, something shifted in his possession. Hunger. Calculation. 3 days to pay, he announced, rising to his full height. "Or you become mine." The contract he slid across the table wasn't just paper. It was her life, her freedom, her future, all reduced to a simple transaction. The university library had always been Valeria's sanctuary. Tonight, surrounded by textbooks and the soft glow of her laptop, she was fighting to stay awake. Her economics midterm was tomorrow, and between her part-time job and caring for her father, she'd barely had time to study. Her phone vibrated. Dad again. The third call in an hour. "Dad, I told you I'm studying," she answered, trying to keep the frustration from her voice. "Val," his speech was slurred, "I need you to come home, now." Something in his tone made her blood run cold. "What's wrong?" "Just come home." The call ended. 20 minutes later, Valeria rushed through the front door of their small apartment. The smell hit her first expensive cologne, cutting through the familiar scent of her father's cheap whiskey. She found them in the kitchen. Her father, Marco Russo, slumped in a chair, face ashen. Across from him sat a man she'd never seen before, impeccably dressed in a tailored suit that probably cost more than their rent. 2 broad-shouldered men stood by the door, expressions blank. "Ah, the daughter arrives," the stranger said, his voice carrying a subtle Italian accent. He stood, buttoning his jacket with elegant precision. "Dante Moretti. Your father and I were just discussing business." Valeria knew that name. Everyone in the city did. Dante Moretti, businessman on paper, ruthless Mafia boss in reality. "What's going on?" she asked, moving to stand beside her father. Marco couldn't meet her eyes. "I'm sorry, Val. I made some mistakes." Dante's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Your father borrowed money from me, a considerable sum. With interest, he now owes me $500,000. The room seemed to tilt. "That's impossible," she whispered. "Show her, Marco," Dante commanded. With shaking hands, her father pushed a document across the table, a loan agreement with her father's signature, dated 18 months ago. "I needed it for a business opportunity," Marco mumbled. "It was supposed to pay off big. Then I needed more to cover the losses." Valeria felt sick. Her father's business opportunities were nothing but gambling debts disguised as investments. She'd been working herself to exhaustion, skipping meals to save money, while he'd been drowning them in debt. "I've been patient," Dante said, examining his manicured nails. "Too patient, perhaps. But my generosity has limits." "We don't have that kind of money," Valeria said, her mind racing through their meager savings, the small inheritance from her mother that was meant for her education. "I'm aware." Dante's eyes traveled over her with unsettling intensity. "But debts must be paid, one way or another." Her father began to sob. "Please give me more time. I can get the money." "You've had 18 months. Dante cut him off coldly. "I'm not here to negotiate. I'm here to collect." One of Dante's men stepped forward, placing a hand on Marco's shoulder. The threat was clear without words. "Wait." Valeria stepped between them. "There must be something we can do." Dante tilted his head, studying her with newfound interest. "Perhaps." He circled her slowly, like a predator assessing prey. "You're in university." "Economics, I believe." She nodded, wondering how he knew. "Smart, beautiful, untouched by your father's weaknesses." He stopped in front of her. "I could use someone like you." "For what?" she asked, her mouth dry. "I have a proposition. 3 days to gather as much of the payment as possible, whatever you cannot pay." His eyes locked with hers. "You will work off personally, in my home, under my supervision. You want me to work for you." "As what?" His smile was dangerous. "That depends on how useful you make yourself. And if we refuse," Dante shrugged, "then your father's debt will be settled differently, less pleasantly." The implication hung in the air like poison. 3 days, he repeated, sliding a business card across the table. After that, you become mine, or I take what's owed in other ways. After Dante left, Valeria confronted her father, who collapsed into incoherent apologies between swigs from a hidden bottle. The next morning, she withdrew her savings, sold her laptop, and even approached the university's emergency loan program. Her father pawned what little they had of value. It wasn't enough, not nearly enough. On the third day, Dante's black SUV pulled up outside their apartment. Valeria had packed a small bag, unsure of what awaited her. "You've made your choice?" Dante asked when she opened the door. She handed him an envelope, containing every cent they could gather. "This is all we have." He counted it dispassionately. "Not even 10%. "It's everything," she whispered. "Then you know the terms." He gestured to the car. "Say goodbye to your father." Marco grabbed her arm. "Val, don't do this. We'll find another way." "There is no other way," she said, the anger and betrayal of the past 3 days hardening her resolve. "You did this, Dad. Now I'm fixing it." "She'll be safe," Dante told Marco, though his words offered little comfort. "As long as she honors our agreement." As the car pulled away, Valeria watched her neighborhood disappear through tinted windows. Beside her, Dante studied her profile. "You're brave," he observed. "Foolish, perhaps, but brave." "I'm practical," she corrected him. "How long will I need to work for you?" "That depends on how valuable you make yourself." His hand settled on her knee, warm and heavy. "But make no mistake, Valeria Russo. You're not an employee. You're collateral. And now, you're mine." The car passed through ornate gates, revealing a sprawling estate on the city's outskirts. Valeria's new prison, gilded though it might be, stretched before her. Valeria woke to sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. For a moment, she was disoriented by the silk sheets and the vast bedroom that was 3 times the size of her apartment. Then reality crashed back. She was in Dante Moretti's mansion, no longer a free woman. A soft knock at the door preceded a uniformed maid entering with a breakfast tray. "Mr. Moretti requests your presence in his study at 10 o'clock, the woman said, her eyes downcast. "There are clothes in the closet. He expects you to dress appropriately." The closet revealed designer garments in exactly her size. The precision was unsettling. How long had Dante been planning this? She chose the most conservative option, a cream blouse and navy trousers, refusing to dress like a doll for his amusement. At precisely 10, she was escorted to Dante's study by a stone-faced security guard. The room was impressive: dark wood, leather-bound books, and a massive desk where Dante sat reviewing documents. "Ah, there she is," he said without looking up. "Sleep well." "What exactly am I supposed to do here?" Valeria asked, ignoring his question. Dante finally raised his eyes. "Direct. I appreciate that." He gestured to a chair. "Sit." She remained standing. A smile touched his lips. Defiant too. Interesting. "I'm not here to entertain you," she said. "I'm here to pay a debt." "And how do you propose to do that?" He leaned back, studying her. "What skills do you have that could possibly be worth $500,000? Her mind raced. "I'm good with numbers. Organization. I can help with legitimate aspects of your business." Dante laughed, the sound surprisingly genuine. "You think I brought you here to be my accountant?" "I think you brought me here as a trophy," she countered. "To prove you can take whatever you want." His amusement vanished. He stood, circling the desk to stand before her. Up close, she could see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes. Smell the subtle cologne that had lingered in her father's kitchen. "You're partially right," he said quietly. "I take what I want, but I rarely keep what doesn't continue to interest me." His proximity made her heart race, though she couldn't tell if it was fear or something else entirely. "So make yourself interesting, Valeria." He tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, his touch lingering. "Starting today, you'll assist my secretary. Show me those organizational skills you're so proud of." The following days established a routine. Mornings in the office wing, filing, scheduling, and occasionally sitting in on meetings where Dante conducted his legitimate business dealings. She glimpsed the other side, 2 hushed conversations. Men with hard eyes coming and going, coded discussions about shipments, territories. Evenings were spent dining with Dante, often alone. He questioned her relentlessly about her studies, her opinions, her life. He seemed genuinely interested in her answers, challenging her when he disagreed, nodding appreciatively when she stood her ground. A week into her captivity, she found the courage to ask about her father. "Has he contacted you?" she asked over dinner. Dante swirled his wine. "No, though my men report he's been frequenting his usual gambling establishments." Her appetite vanished. Nothing had changed. Her sacrifice meant nothing to her father. "He doesn't deserve your loyalty," Dante observed. "And you do," she shot back. "I've never pretended to be something I'm not." He set down his glass. "Your father gambled away your future while telling you he was building it. At least I'm honest about what I am." She couldn't argue with that bitter truth. Later that night, unable to sleep, Valeria wandered to the mansion's library. She was surprised to find Dante there, jacket discarded, shirt sleeves rolled up, reading in the dim light. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked without looking up. "This place doesn't feel real," she admitted. "Like I'm living in someone else's life." He closed his book. "Perhaps you are. The question is whether it's a better life than the one you left. A gilded cage is still a cage." "Is it?" He stood, approaching her. "You have everything here. Comfort, security, purpose. What did you have before?" "Exhaustion. A drunk father draining you dry." "I had freedom," she whispered. "Freedom to struggle. To sacrifice? To fail despite your best efforts." His voice softened. "I've watched you, Valeria. You're flourishing here." It was true in a way she didn't want to admit. Her mind was challenged here. She was eating regularly, sleeping in comfort. The constant anxiety about money and her father's next crisis had lifted. "The 3 days are up," she said suddenly. "My father. Did he try to pay anything more?" Dante's expression hardened. "No. He sold the pawned items I returned to him and disappeared." The betrayal cut deep. Her father had abandoned her. "So what happens to me now?" she asked, fighting tears. Dante's fingers traced her jawline. "That depends on you." The next morning, Dante was gone. Business in another city, his secretary explained. For 3 days. Valeria had the strange freedom of the mansion, without his watchful presence. She explored rooms previously off limits, discovered a beautiful garden, even swam in the indoor pool. On the 4th day, she was summoned to Dante's study immediately upon his return. He looked tired, his usual immaculate appearance slightly rumpled. "Your father has been found," he said without preamble. Her heart stopped. "Is he?" "Alive, yes, but in trouble. He borrowed from the Bratva after I took you. The Russian Mafia." Even Valeria knew what that meant. "They're not as patient as I am," Dante continued. "They've given him 48 hours to pay. He came to my men begging for help. After he abandoned me," she said, the hurt evident in her voice. "Yes," Dante studied her. "I could let the Russians handle him. It would solve several problems." "You mean let them kill him?" Her voice was hollow. "It would settle his debt permanently." Dante's eyes never left hers. "But there's another option." "What?" "Marry me." The words hung in the air between them. "What?" she repeated, certain she'd misheard. "Marry me," Dante said again. "Become my wife. I'll clear your father's debts. Mine and the Russians. He'll be free. And so will you, in a manner of speaking. How does that make me free?" "As my wife, you'd no longer be collateral. You'd be a Moretti, protected, powerful." He stepped closer. "And I find I'm not ready to let you go." "This is insane," she whispered. "You barely know me." "I know enough." His hands framed her face. "I know you're loyal, intelligent, and stronger than you realize. I know you've begun to see beyond the monster everyone fears to the man underneath." It was true. In their evening conversations, she'd glimpsed other sides of him. His strategic mind, his dry humor, his unexpected kindness to those in his household. "Why marriage?" she asked. "Why not just keep me here?" "Because I want you to choose me," he said simply. "Not because of a debt, not because of fear. I want you to choose this life, with me." The proposal hung between them. Impossible yet tempting in ways she couldn't articulate. "Your father has 48 hours, Dante said. "You have the same amount of time to decide. His life, your future, both rest in your answer." Valeria paced her room, Dante's proposal echoing in her mind. Marriage to a mafia boss, it was madness. Yet somewhere between fear and fascination, she'd developed feelings for him she couldn't explain. A commotion downstairs interrupted her thoughts. Raised voices, hurried footsteps. She opened her door to find Dante's security chief, Luca, barking orders into a phone. "What's happening?" she asked. Luca hesitated. "The Bratva moved early. They've taken your father." Her blood ran cold. "Taken him where?" "We're working on that." Luca's phone buzzed. "The boss wants to see you." She found Dante in his study, surrounded by armed men reviewing building plans. "You should be in your room," he said when he saw her. "This is about my father. I deserve to know what's happening." Something like respect flickered in Dante's eyes. "The Russians have accelerated their timeline. They're holding your father at an abandoned factory on the east side. Are you going to help him?" she asked. "I'm considering it." "Please," she said, swallowing her pride. "Whatever you think of him, he's still my father." Dante dismissed his men with a gesture when they were alone. He approached her. "This isn't just about your father," he said quietly. "The Bratva are challenging me, taking what's mine." "He's not yours," she countered, "but you are." His voice turned possessive. "And he's your father. That makes this my business." "Then let me come with you." "Absolutely not. I know him. I could help. It's too dangerous." "I'm already in danger," she argued. "I've been in danger since the moment you walked into our apartment." Dante studied her for a long moment. "You'll stay in the car. You'll follow every instruction without question. If you don't, I'll have you dragged back here regardless of what happens to your father. Understood?" She nodded, surprised he'd conceded. An hour later, Valeria sat in a black SUV, parked a block from the abandoned factory, Luca beside her in the driver's seat. Through binoculars, she watched Dante and 4 of his men approach the building's side entrance. "Why is he doing this?" she asked Luca. "Risking himself for someone who means nothing to him." Luca kept his eyes on the building. "The boss doesn't do anything without multiple reasons. Yes, it's about the Bratva challenging him, but it's also about you. Me. I've worked for him for 15 years. I've never seen him look at anyone the way he looks at you." Before she could process this, gunfire erupted from inside the factory. Luca cursed, reaching for his weapon. "Stay here," he ordered, exiting the car. Valeria sat frozen, counting seconds that stretched into minutes. More gunfire, breaking glass, then silence. Unable to bear it, she slipped from the car and crept toward the building. She found a broken window and peered inside. Bodies lay scattered across the concrete floor. Men in dark clothing she didn't recognize. No sign of Dante or her father. A hand clamped over her mouth. She struggled until Dante's voice whispered in her ear, "I told you to stay in the car." He released her, and she turned to find him splattered with blood, a cut above his eye. "Are you hurt?" she asked, reaching for his face without thinking. Something softened in his expression at her concern. "Not mine," he said, nodding toward the blood on his shirt. "My father. Alive. My men are taking him to a safe house." Relief flooded her. "Thank you. Don't thank me yet. The Bratva won't forget this. We've just escalated a situation that was already volatile." Back at the mansion, a doctor treated Dante's injuries while Valeria waited anxiously. When finally allowed into his room, she found him shirtless, bandages covering his ribs, his face grim. "The doctor says you have 3 broken ribs," she said, hovering by the door. "I've had worse." "Why did you do it?" she asked. "Risk yourself like that?" He looked at her for a long moment. "You know why?" She did, though she could barely admit it to herself. She crossed the room slowly, stopping at his bedside. "I spoke to my father," she said. "Luca arranged a call, and he's grateful. Confused about why you would help him." "What did you tell him?" "That you made me an offer." She met his eyes. "Marriage in exchange for his freedom." Dante's expression revealed nothing. "And what did he say to that?" "He told me to accept. That it was a better life than anything he could give me." She laughed bitterly. "Even now, he's thinking himself how your protection would benefit him." "And what do you think?" Dante asked, his voice unusually gentle. "I think." She hesitated, gathering her courage. "I think there are worse fates than being married to you." Something hungry flashed in his eyes. He reached for her hand, pulling her closer until she was standing between his knees. "That's not exactly a romantic acceptance," he said, his thumbs tracing circles on her wrists. "This isn't exactly a romantic situation." "No." His hands moved to her waist. "Tell me you haven't felt this between us from the beginning." She couldn't deny it. From that first night in her father's kitchen, something electric had sparked between them. Fear and attraction, impossibly intertwined. "I don't know what I feel," she admitted. "Everything's happened so fast. Then let me help you decide." He drew her down until their faces were inches apart. "Say no and I'll stop." She didn't say no. His lips met hers, gentle at first, then demanding as she responded. Her hands found his shoulders, careful of his injuries. As he pulled her onto his lap, the kiss deepened, his hands tangling in her hair. When they broke apart, both breathing heavily, Valeria felt dizzy with conflicting emotions. "This doesn't make sense," she whispered against his mouth. "It doesn't have to." His fingers traced her spine. "Say yes, Valeria. Be my wife. Let me protect you. Let me give you everything you deserve." She should refuse. Run. Find another way. But as his lips found her neck, as his hands explored her body with a reverence that belied his dangerous reputation, she found herself sinking into a decision that felt both terrifying and inevitable. "Yes," she breathed as they fell back onto his bed, caution abandoned. "Yes." That night crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. Enemy became lover. Captor became chosen. And somewhere in the darkness, as they moved together in his massive bed, Valeria realized she was no longer a prisoner. She was falling for the very man who had once been her jailer. 6 weeks after the night in Dante's bedroom, Valeria stared at the pregnancy test in her trembling hands. Positive. She sank onto the bathroom floor, mind racing. She and Dante had been careful. Mostly. But that first night, caught up in passion and adrenaline after the rescue, a child. Dante Moretti's child growing inside her. They hadn't spoken of marriage since that night. The Bratva situation had escalated, consuming Dante's attention. They still shared his bed, still spent evenings in intense conversation, but the proposal hung between them, unaddressed. Now everything would change again. A knock at her door startled her. She quickly hid the test and opened the door to find Luca, Dante's ever-present security chief. "The boss wants to see you," he said. In the East Wing study. The East Wing was Dante's private domain, where he conducted the darkest parts of his business. Valeria had never been invited there before. She found Dante reviewing documents, his expression grave. When he saw her, something shifted in his face, a softening she'd come to recognize as reserved only for her. "You wanted to see me?" she asked. "Yes." He gestured to the chair across from him. "There are things we need to discuss." Her hand instinctively moved to her stomach. Did he somehow know already? "The situation with the Bratva has become complicated," he continued. "They're demanding compensation for their men who died during your father's rescue." "What kind of compensation?" "Territory, money." His eyes met hers. Her blood turned to ice. "Me." "Their leader, Mikhail, has taken a particular interest since learning of your position in my household." "And what exactly is my position?" she asked, suddenly angry. "Hostage, mistress, almost fiancé?" Dante's expression darkened. "You know what you are to me, do I?" She stood pacing. "Because sometimes I think I'm just another possession, something you took, because you could. Is that what you think?" He moved with surprising speed, catching her arm. "After everything." The intensity in his eyes made her breath catch. Before she could respond, the door opened and Luca entered, followed by another man Valeria recognized as one of Dante's lieutenants. "Boss, we have a situation," Luca said, his eyes flicking to Valeria. "Private." Dante released her arm. "Wait for me in your room. We'll finish this conversation." Dismissed like a child, like an employee, not like the woman carrying his child. Valeria's frustration boiled over. "No," she said firmly. "I'm tired of being kept in the dark. If the Bratva wants me, I deserve to know why." The lieutenants exchanged glances. Dante studied her for a long moment. "Fine," he said finally. "Luca, report. We've intercepted communications. The Bratva is planning to move against us tonight. Multiple targets, including this house." "And my father?" Valeria asked. "Is he safe?" A strange look passed between Dante and Luca. "What aren't you telling me?" she demanded. Luca shifted uncomfortably. "Your father. He's been working with the Bratva, feeding them information." The betrayal hit her like a physical blow. "That's not possible." "It is," Dante said quietly. "We've suspected for some time. That's why I've been limiting your contact with him." You've been monitoring our calls. The violation stung. I've been protecting you, Dante countered. Even from him. I don't believe you. But even as she said it, doubt crept in. Her father's gambling, his desperation, his self-preservation at any cost. Show her, Dante ordered Luca. The security chief handed her a tablet. On it was a video of her father meeting with a severe-looking man with a Russian accent, discussing Dante's security. Discussing her. He sold information about me, she whispered. About us, Dante corrected. About our relationship. About how to use you to get to me. The room seemed to spin. Her father had sold her. Again. I need to speak with him, she said. That's not possible right now. Why? Because you've already killed him. The words escaped before she could stop them. Dante's expression hardened. Is that what you think of me? That I'd murder your father and not tell you? Before she could answer, an explosion rocked the house. Alarms blared. Luca's phone buzzed with urgent messages. They're here, he reported. Multiple entry points. We need to move. Dante was immediately in motion, retrieving a gun from his desk. Get her to the panic room, he ordered Luca. No, Valeria protested. I'm staying with you. This isn't a debate. Dante gripped her shoulders. Go with Luca. Stay safe, for me. His hand brushed her stomach in a gesture that seemed almost prescient. Please. Something in his eyes made her nod. He kissed her hard, then pushed her toward Luca. Keep her safe, he told his lieutenant, no matter what happens to me. As Luca led her through hidden passages to a reinforced room deep in the mansion, gunfire and shouts echoed through the halls. Inside the panic room, monitors displayed security feeds from around the property. Valeria watched in horror as masked men swarmed the house, as Dante's men fell one by one. We have to help them, she begged Luca. My orders are to protect you, he said firmly, checking the room's defenses. On one monitor, she saw Dante fighting his way through the east wing, deadly efficient with both gun and knife. Then a larger feed showed her father being escorted into the house by the Russian man from the video. They're using him as bait, she realized. Luca's expression confirmed it. Dante won't fall for it. But on the screen, Dante paused when he saw Marco Russo. In that moment of hesitation, a Bratva soldier appeared behind him. Dante, behind you. Valeria screamed uselessly at the monitor. The blow caught him in the head. He crumpled to the ground. We have to help him, she pleaded. We can't, Luca said, though conflict showed on his face. The house is overrun. Then call for backup. You must have protocols. Reinforcements are coming, but they won't be here in time if the Bratva decides to execute him immediately. Valeria stared at the monitor, watching as Dante was dragged to the main hall, where her father stood with the Russian leader. She couldn't hear their conversation, but her father's animated gestures suggested he was pleading his case. Then, to her horror, her father pointed directly at the camera monitoring them. He knows where the panic room is, she whispered. Luca immediately drew his weapon. We need to move. There's a secondary escape route. As he turned to a hidden panel, Valeria noticed his phone on the table. She grabbed it, quickly typing a message to the emergency contact labeled Protocol Omega, giving their location and the situation. What are you doing? Luca demanded, seeing the phone in her hand. Saving Dante, she said, hitting send before he could stop her. You don't understand, Luca said, his expression changing. It was never about saving him. His gun raised, now pointed at her. What are you doing? She asked, backing away. I'm sorry, Valeria. This was always the plan. His eyes were cold now, professional. Dante's enemies paid well. Your father made the initial connection. I provided the inside access. You betrayed him, she whispered, after 15 years. Business is business. He gestured with the gun. Now move. The Bratva wants you alive. As he reached for her arm, the panic room door burst open. Not the Bratva, but Dante himself, bloodied but standing, gun raised. Touch her and die, Luca, he growled. The security chief spun, firing wildly. Dante's shot was more precise. Luca crumpled to the floor. Dante rushed to Valeria, checking her for injuries. Are you hurt? She shook her head, trembling. My father. I know. His expression was grim. We'll deal with him later. Right now, we need to get out of here. How did you escape? A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Your message. Baby on board. Not subtle, but effective. Her hand went to her stomach. You knew. I suspected. His eyes softened. We'll talk about that too. After. They made it to the garage through hidden passages. As Dante helped her into an armored SUV, she spotted a familiar file on the back seat. What's this? She asked, opening it. The real documents, Dante said as he started the engine. Your father's actual debt. The loan agreement inside showed a much smaller sum than she'd been told. 50,000, not $500,000. I don't understand, she said as they sped away from the burning mansion. You lied about the amount. I needed leverage, Dante admitted. I'd been watching you for months. Your father's debt was an opportunity. An opportunity for what? To get close to you. His eyes met hers briefly. I could have collected from him a dozen different ways. I wanted you. The revelation should have angered her. Instead, a strange calm settled over her. All of this, she said, gesturing to the chaos behind them. Because you wanted me. Yes, no apology in his voice, no regret. And now, she asked, her hand protective over her stomach. What happens now? Dante's hand found hers. Now we rebuild. Together, as a family. As they drove away from the burning remains of his empire, Valeria made her choice. Not as a victim, not as payment for a debt, but as a woman choosing her own destiny. 1 year later, Valeria stood on the balcony of their new home, watching the sunset over the city that was now partly hers. Behind her, she could hear Sofia's soft babbling as Dante spoke to their daughter in Italian, his deep voice gentle in a way few people ever witnessed. The war with the Bratva had ended 3 months after the attack on the mansion, not through violence, but through Valeria's unexpected intervention. Using her economics background and the connections she'd made during her time in Dante's household, she'd brokered a business arrangement that benefited both organizations while establishing clear boundaries. The strategist emerges, Dante had said with pride when she presented her plan. He'd given her the freedom to implement it. Standing beside her, as she transformed from captive to negotiator, her father had not fared as well. After his betrayal was exposed, he'd fled the city. Dante's men had found him 6 months later, hiding in a coastal town. Valeria had insisted on seeing him one last time. You sold me, she'd told him across a table in a private room of a seaside restaurant. Twice. I was desperate, Marco had pleaded. They would have killed me. So you offered them your daughter instead. The pain had dulled to a distant ache. Did you ever love me at all? His silence had been answer enough. Dante wants you dead, she'd continued calmly. He believes it's the only way to ensure our safety, Sofia's safety. Her father had paled at the mention of his granddaughter. I convinced him to offer you a choice instead. She'd slid an envelope across the table. Enough money to disappear. Start over somewhere far away. South America, perhaps. The alternative is less pleasant. You've become like him, Marco had whispered. No, she'd corrected him. I've become myself, the woman I was always meant to be. Once I stopped sacrificing everything for you. That had been their final goodbye. Monthly reports confirmed he remained in Argentina, far from their lives, deep thoughts. Dante's arms encircled her waist, pulling her back against his chest. Just reflecting, she said, leaning into him. It's been quite a year. Regrets, he asked, his lips against her hair. She turned in his arms. Would you believe me if I said no? His eyes studied her face, searching for the truth. They'd built their relationship on many things. Passion, power, mutual respect. But never lies. Not anymore. I would, he said finally. Because I see how you flourished. How we've built something neither of us expected. Their wedding 3 months after Sofia's birth had been an intimate affair. Nothing like the public spectacle many expected from a man of Dante's position. They'd exchanged vows in the garden of their new home. Sofia cradled in Valeria's arms, only their closest allies in attendance. The ring on her finger caught the fading sunlight. Not a traditional diamond, but a ruby surrounded by smaller stones. Fire and ice, Dante had explained when he placed it on her finger. Passion and clarity, like you. Inside, Sofia began to fuss. Valeria moved to go to her, but Dante stopped her. I'll take her, he said. You have guests arriving soon. The monthly meeting of the charitable foundation Valeria had established was scheduled for that evening. Using a portion of the Moretti fortune, she funded scholarships for children from backgrounds like hers. Single-parent homes, financial hardship, promising students who needed support to reach their potential. It had been her condition for fully joining Dante in his business. "I'll help you build your empire," she'd told him. "But part of it must be legitimate. Something good to balance the darkness." He'd agreed without hesitation. "You're the light in this darkness," he'd said. "I won't dim that." As Dante disappeared inside with their daughter, Valeria's phone buzzed with a message from Elena, her assistant, and the foundation's director. The board members were arriving. She took a final moment alone on the balcony, considering the journey that had brought her here, from economics student to hostage to wife of the city's most powerful man, mother to his child, partner in his enterprises, both legitimate and otherwise. Many would see her as a victim who had succumbed to Stockholm Syndrome. Others might view her as an opportunist who had leveraged a bad situation to her advantage. Neither understood the complex truth. She had chosen this life. Not at the beginning, perhaps, but with clear eyes once she understood who Dante truly was beneath his dangerous exterior. She had shaped it to accommodate her own values, her own ambitions, and in doing so, she had transformed not just herself, but him as well. The Dante who now sang lullabies to their daughter was not the same man who had coldly claimed her as payment for a debt. The Valeria who now commanded respect in both legitimate business circles and the criminal underworld was not the same frightened student who had trembled in his presence. They had changed each other, forged something unexpected from the fires of danger and desire. Inside, she could hear the arrival of her board members, Dante's smooth greeting as he welcomed them while bouncing Sophia on his hip. This strange family they had created, this empire built on both shadow and light. It was hers now, by choice rather than coercion. As Valeria turned to join them, she touched the ruby ring on her finger, a smile curving her lips. She was not his prisoner. She was the architect of their legacy, and she wouldn't change a single step of the journey that had brought her home.